told you, the real secret to becoming a better listener starts after the conversation ends. Hi, I'm Shannon, your Barefoot Librarian. I'm a teacher, librarian, and lifelong learner with specialized research training and a master's degree in holistic education. In other words, I've spent years sifting through piles of information to find the real gems. Most books are packed with fluff, but when I find one that delivers real insight, I bring it to you, minus the filler. Today, we're wrapping up our 3-part series on Listen Like You Mean It by Ximena Vengoechea. Don't worry if this is your first time here. This post is just as powerful on its own, and I've saved the best for last. We'll be diving into the final 2 chapters where we'll explore how listening isn't just about the conversation. It's also about rest, reflection, and showing up with intention long after the words have been spoken. If you missed the first 2 parts of the series, no worries. I've linked them below for you to catch up. But for now, let's dive into these crucial closing insights. Chapter 11, give yourself space to recover. Listening takes energy, real energy. It's not just about hearing someone's words. It's about being present, offering empathy, asking good questions, and holding space for another person's thoughts and feelings. When a conversation runs deep or touches something hard, it can leave you feeling completely spent. That's not a sign you did it wrong. It's actually a sign you showed up with your whole heart. But this is where we often drop the ball. We forget that recovery is part of the rhythm. Good listeners don't just show up, they step away. They make space for rest, reset, and refuel so they can keep showing up with compassion and care. That's not selfish, it's sustainable. So, what does recovery actually look like? Start with your relationships. In our last post, we talked about doing a relationship audit, paying attention to which connections leave you feeling energized and which ones leave you drained. Not every conversation requires the same level of emotional investment, and not every person needs full access to your time and heart every single day. That's not mean, it's just wise stewardship of your energy. Boundaries help you give your best self, not what's left of you. Next, don't underestimate the power of movement. You don't need to be a gym rat or run marathons to feel better. Just move your body in a way that brings you joy. That might mean hiking, biking, dancing in your kitchen, playing pickleball, going for a walk around the block, or stretching on your living room floor while your dog gives you weird looks. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just needs to happen. Movement helps you get out of your head, and those endorphins are a real gift when your emotional tank is running low. Also, take a beat to check in with yourself. Did you just have a heavy conversation? Give yourself a minute to step outside, make a cup of tea, jot a few notes in a journal, take a few deep breaths. You don't need to rush into the next thing. Research shows that even a few minutes of quiet can do wonders for your nervous system. And finally, don't go it alone. Have at least one safe person in your life whom you can talk to. Someone who doesn't try to fix you, but will simply listen and care. And if the emotional weight of what you're carrying feels too big to bear on your own, counseling is one of the bravest and healthiest choices you can make. Whether it's a friend, a therapist, or a mentor, let someone walk with you. Listeners need listening ears too. Because again, this is the secret most people miss. Listening well isn't just about being present in the moment. It's about how you care for yourself after the moment ends. That's what keeps your compassion from drying up. That's what gives you the strength to go out and do it again tomorrow. It's the old airplane oxygen mask principle you've probably heard 1,000 times. Put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you're no help to anyone. The same goes for emotional and relational oxygen. If you want to keep showing up for others, really showing up with empathy, presence, and grace, you have to pause and breathe first. Give yourself the care you so freely offer to everyone else. When it comes to recovery, everyone has their own way of doing it. As an introvert, I need a lot of space to recharge after being around people. I love people, but I prefer keeping my interactions limited. I'm happiest right here on my wooded hill with my husband and my dog, and I feel most at peace when I'm able to retreat to my own quiet space. But even for extroverts who typically thrive around others, recovery is still necessary. Extroverts can feel emotionally drained too. It's not about avoiding people, it's about giving yourself permission to step back and recharge. It's taken me time to fully embrace that this is just how I'm wired. I don't need a ton of socializing to feel connected or fulfilled, and that's okay. What I've learned is that when I've had a deep or intense conversation, I need time to recover. It doesn't mean I don't care or that I'm not invested, it's just the way I process and recharge. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, it's important to understand your own needs. For me, recovery looks like stepping away from the noise and retreating to a peaceful environment. If I don't honor that, I'm not able to show up as my best self for others. So give yourself permission to recover in a way that works for you without guilt. It's essential for maintaining healthy relationships and being a good listener in the long run. Okay, let's talk a minute to talk about setting boundaries before burning out. Setting boundaries is essential, especially when it comes to protecting our emotional energy. Even with people I love, I've learned to build space for recovery. Not because I'm annoyed or uninterested, but because I want to keep showing up well. And that's where boundaries come into play. Think of your emotional capacity like a battery. There are times when you're fully charged, what I like to think of as the green light zone. You feel energized, open, and ready to engage with the world, offering your best self to those around you. But then there are times where your battery dips into the yellow light zone. You're drained and you need to conserve energy. In those moments, I know I can only manage meaningful connections with a select few people, usually my husband, my best friend, or my mom. I'm not rejecting everyone else, but I recognize I need to recharge with those who make me feel safe and supported. And then there are the red light times, when your battery is completely drained. When I hit red, it's a signal to step back completely and unplug from all humans. I give myself permission to rest and disconnect. It's nothing personal, it's simply about respecting my limits and honoring the need for recovery. By setting these boundaries before burnout strikes, I can show up for others with a full heart and mind. It's not about avoiding people, it's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. So listen to your emotional battery and take the time you need to recharge. This self-care isn't a luxury, it's essential for being there for others long term. Let me share a quick story. When I first started teaching, I was just 22, barely out of college myself. I'd always loved learning, loved kids, and wanted to create a classroom where we could grow alongside each other. But nothing could have prepared me for the stories my students carried. Many of them were refugees, having fled political unrest, violence, and war in their home countries. Some had been permanently separated from their families. Others bore physical scars from their pasts. Still more came with only stories, devastating accounts of what they had seen and survived. I wanted to be strong for them. I wanted to listen well, to be a steady presence in their lives. But the truth is, I was crumbling. I would come home emotionally wrecked. My heart bled for my students. I couldn't stop thinking about them, worrying about them, carrying their pain around like it was my own. The whole reason I became a teacher was because I cared deeply. But now that very trait was threatening to burn me out. So I reached out to someone I trusted, my former college dean. He wasn't just a wise voice. He had led through trauma before. In the 1990s, he helped support students who had fled the Rwandan genocide. He understood the weight of carrying other people's stories and how that grief can quietly settle into your bones. He didn't hand me a textbook or prescribe a strategy. He simply told me a story. Back when he was a young principal, he found himself overwhelmed by the emotional toll of the work. One day, he noticed a random knot on a tree in his front yard. It became his daily ritual. Each evening before walking into his house, he would tap that knot and mentally offload the day's burdens. He imagined leaving them there so they wouldn't follow him inside and interfere with his family time. And in the morning, he'd tap it again, picking the weight back up before heading off to school. This story stayed with me because it shows us that there's a difference between being compassionate and letting yourself burn out. Just like my dean found a way to offload his emotional weight, we need to find our own methods of recovery. It reminded me that there's a difference between compassion and collapse, that I could love my students deeply without being consumed by their pain. Ximena calls this vicarious trauma, and in chapter 11, she reminds us that good listeners don't just show up in conversation, they step away too. They rest, they recover, they create space to process what they've absorbed so they can return with care and strength. Some people need rituals, like my dean's tree knot. Others might find relief through professional counseling. At the very least, we all need safe people in our lives, someone who can hold space for us the way we try to hold it for others. Remember, recovery is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When we listen well and honor our needs for recovery, we give ourselves the capacity to love others better for the long haul. Chapter 12, Raise the Bar. At its core, listening isn't just about doing better. It's about being better. Better friends, better spouses, better teammates. We raise the bar when we stop treating connection like a checklist and start seeing it as a lifeline. Because here's the truth. Connection is a human need, not a luxury, not a personality preference, not something you outgrow. It's built into our wiring. We were made for relationships. And when we're not finding connection in healthy ways, we go looking for it elsewhere, sometimes without even realizing it. Now, I'll be honest, I'm the queen of hiding. Whether it's binge watching shows, scrolling through social media, burying myself in work or school, or escaping into a book, I've tried it all. I've used every one of these substitutes, and I'm sure you can relate to some of them. They give us that quick hit of comfort, but they don't truly satisfy. Books were my favorite hiding spot. As a kid, the library was my magical wonderland. I'd lose myself in stories, transported to different times and places. But as I got older, that escape didn't completely change. I'd dive into textbooks in college or hide behind pages of fiction when life felt too much. Books became my way to disconnect from the world, especially when I didn't know how to face it. But hiding doesn't make us feel better for long. In fact, it usually makes things worse. And that's where I learned a hard lesson. Connection is not about hiding, it's about showing up. I realized this most clearly during my college years. One Thanksgiving, I was so wrapped up in my textbooks, racing through assignments, that I barely interacted with my family. I wasn't present. My mom, half joking but also half pleading, threatened to hide my books if I didn't engage with everyone. She wasn't just trying to get me to take a break from my studies. She was desperately reminding me that connection was more important than any textbook or assignment. At the time, I was so focused on my studies, trying to prove my worth through grades and accomplishments, that I didn't realize how I was neglecting the very relationships that mattered most. That moment with my mom was a wake-up call. Connection can't be forced through accomplishments or escapes. It has to be nurtured through real, honest presence. The truth is, connection isn't something you can fake or substitute. It requires intention, vulnerability, and a willingness to show up even when it's hard. The next time you find yourself tempted to hide behind a screen, a book, or the hustle, remember that connection is your lifeline. And when we lean into it, we raise the bar, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. So, go ahead, turn off the TV, put down the book, and look someone in the eye. It's time to stop hiding and start truly connecting. Wrapping up, listening is not a passive activity. It's intentional, skillful, and deeply human. It goes beyond hearing words. It's about engaging with the heart behind them. True listening requires showing up fully, being present, and embracing the emotions and intentions behind what's being shared. It's a skill we can nurture and grow, but it's also a practice that takes time and intention. Rest is essential to this process. When we're running on empty, we can't listen well, much less connect deeply. To be the best listeners, friends, and partners, we need to care for ourselves, mind, body, and soul. Taking time to recharge helps us show up as our best selves, capable of engaging with others from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Connection is what truly matters. It's not just a luxury or something nice to have. It's a fundamental human need. But deep connection isn't always easy to come by, and it takes intentional effort. It's about making the time and space to be present, to truly see and hear one another. The best connections are built on empathy, authenticity, and mutual growth. If this message resonates with you, I cannot recommend Listen Like You Mean It by Ximena Vengoechea enough. It's filled with both encouragement and practical tools to help us live more others-focused lives in a noisy world. And as always, you can find the link to grab your copy below. At the end of the day, this journey isn't just about listening. It's about becoming. Becoming more present, more compassionate, more connected. When we learn to listen with empathy and intention, we don't just improve our relationships. We elevate the way we move through the world. We become safe places for others. And in doing so, we create space for healing, growth, and deeper joy. Not just for them, but for us too. That's all for now. Take care, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.